Hi there. I promised a second option for doing the Scan2Cut with the SureCuts app and a Caesar, Juliet or Romeo, and this is it. So I have some images here which I've got printed on normal printer paper, but I don't have any registration marks, and maybe my printer's gone AWOL, or maybe it's throwing a fit and it's not working, and I still want to cut these out. So what can I do? Well, it's pretty simple. I can actually draw some registration marks around here. So I've worked out that in order to encase all this, I want a 10 centimetre wide square. So yes, that's plenty wide enough. And if I just do it 10 by 10, yeah, I've got plenty of room. So instead of drawing it by hand, I'm actually going to draw this with my Juliet. Just put a pen in my pen holder, and I'll start off somewhere to the left of the biggest strawberry and on the bottom, but not too far away, and just draw my 10 by 10 square, of which I have rubbed out a few lines. You'll get to see in a moment or two. So here we have the registration marks which I've drawn with a pen on my machine around my print. So this is going to form my registration marks. So the next thing I need to do is to take a photograph of this and load it onto my computer. Now, when I'm taking a photograph, I want to make sure that I am nice and level above it, that I encompass the registration marks, but other than that, I don't really have to do a great deal. I've taken a photograph of this and I cropped it down, and I also brightened it up a little bit because my photograph looked a bit dark. So I did want to make it a little bit brighter so I can more easily trace it. So now what I need to do is to put this to my cutter, and I will put the blade inside that bottom left registration mark ready to go. So I've loaded my paper and my map onto my cutter, and I have the image in my computer already. Okay, go from File to Scan to Cut and load. And this is why I cropped it down, okay? This makes it a bit easier if you've just got a small area that you're working on. You don't have to make it really, really huge. So I'm going to zoom in for this. And what I'm doing is using custom marks this time, because these are not marks put on by the software. They're marks put on by me. They look pretty much identical, I have to admit, to the normal ones. But in this particular case, I want custom size, and I want 10 by 10 because that was the distance I put between my marks. Once I've done that, I want to put this so that the green mark is just a little bit outside of that registration mark, because when you do it this way, there is another screen that comes up, and it makes it so that you can do a finer adjustment. But if you can't see all of the registration mark, then you can't see if you're halfway across it. So you do want to be able to see the entire lot. And this basically just crops down the image to a more manageable level. So these little crosses now have to go into the center of the marks that I've put in place. You can zoom in if you want to. You can hold down the Shift key, and you do that on all the different corners. All right, so that's done, and click on OK. And as you can see, it has put it in the top left corner again. So now all we have to do is to do our trace. And hopefully this will trace reasonably well. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I do want blackout on though, so let's update that. And that looks pretty accurate. So I want to take it down so that I don't have the registration marks in there, because I don't want to cut those. I'm going to crop it down a little bit further just to get those out of the way. There we go. Now this is where I will put on an offset if I want one. And in this particular case, yeah, I probably would put an offset on simply because those stalks are very, 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 very thin. 0.1, and then update the preview, and you can see I've got a small offset around these. I'm pretty happy with that, so click on OK. Don't need to continue tracing. I'm going to go to my cutter, go to print and cut, and start the scan to get the items to cut out. So here we are, just cut them out. But I think they probably look better with the offset on, simply from a design point of view. So that is how it's done. Now, should you require putting on your manual registration marks, but you don't want to do it with a pen on the machine, or you haven't got a pen holder or anything, there is an option for that. What you can do is make a stencil in different sizes. You can cut these out, make this very, very thin, so you can only just get a pencil, sorry, not a pencil, a pen tip through it. So you only want this to be a 1mm gap at the most. And that will then allow you to do your registration marks around whatever it is you need. Now, if you do it in a transparent plastic, you'll be able to see exactly where you want to place it, rather than having to guess with this. Okay, so make it out of a transparent plastic if that's what you're going to do. You can, of course, if you want to, simply do your marks by hand, but I wouldn't recommend it, because it really does need to be squared off properly, and it's very difficult to draw a true rectangle or a true square by hand and not get it out just a little bit. And the more accurate your registration marks are, the better your results will be. So there we go, that's how to do it without having to do any printing. So if you are stuck and you want to do your cutting but you just don't have your printer available, you can still work it. Thanks for watching, I'll see you again soon. Take care now.